Hey guys, I'm Becca with Miller's Crossing Design, and this month on the DIY A Go-Go channel, I'm going to be making over this dresser. So this dresser had a lot of problems. The veneer on the top was extremely scratched. So I'm going to show you how I got the veneer off to reveal beautiful wood that I'm going to stain. I also took the veneer off both of the sides, but because it's not as good of a wood, I'm just going to paint it the same color as the dresser. So it'll have a different texture, which I think will add to the rustic look I'm going for with this piece. It has a lot of imperfections in the front and scratches, so I'm going for a very distressed black look. I want it to look like, like a butcher block on top. Maybe it could be in a industrial type bistro kitchen. So I'm going to show you the first step that I'm going to do to create that look, and that's with my base color, which is mixing some colors that some of the DIY colors to get that base color I'm looking for, because this wood is very dark. So I want it to have maybe a lighter wood tone that's going to pop through, and so I'll show you how I'm going to do that. So as you can see, the top of this dresser is just really in bad shape. So there's a few ways that you can take veneer off. One way that I like to do it is like with a heat gun. So you put the heat gun on for a little while until you can kind of see it bubbling, and then I pry it off. This veneer was really stubborn, so I wet a rag, soak it really soaked, and then I put a iron on there and let it kind of sit. The longer you let it sit, the longer, the quicker it'll come off. So you just have to be patient and play around and see how it works for you. So I'm doing a mixture of Prairie Gray, Summer Crush, just a drop of red, and a drop of faded burlap. I'm going to mix that together. I want it mostly to be brown, but I wanted a little bit of a red undertone, so that's why I added the Summer Crush and the Marquee. So that's the color I'm going to be going with for my base coat. So here's the color. Keep in mind that DIY clay paint dries darker, so this is a little lighter than what it's going to be. I'll do a close-up so you can see what it looks like when it's dry. I'm just going to paint the whole thing. I don't have to be precise because it's the undercoat that I'm just going to have popping through the black. So I'm just going to, dip my paint pixie brush in there, and just doesn't really matter what direction or what it looks like. I just want to get that base coat on there. I mean, I will do long strokes because I don't really want brush strokes. I'm going right over the hardware, okay, because I want the hardware to be monochromatic with the whole thing. So I ran into an issue while I was painting. So this bottom drawer, once I added the paint, the moisture from the paint started to make all this veneer lift. So, I mean, this happens sometimes when you're dealing with really old pieces that have been laying around for years and years, either in basements or garages. Sometimes the veneer just isn't salvageable. If I'd caught it in time, I could have wood glued it, clamped it, but I didn't notice it until the moisture from the paint started to seep in. So it looks like it's going to come off very easy, and it looks like I have some beautiful wood just like the top of the dresser under here. So I'm going to go ahead and peel this off and then stain it to match the top and kind of just go with it. Sometimes some of the biggest mistakes I find along the way create some of the best pieces I've done. So it's a problem, but it's not the worst problem. It's fixable, and it actually might end up being in my favor. So you'll just have to wait and see what happens. I'm just using Little Black Dress. It's our darkest black in the DIY paint line. And I'm using my Paint Pixie number 8. It's my favorite size. It's a good all-around brush to have for all projects. I have a little bit of water on my brush just to help move the paint because it is very humid here in New York and the paint dries very fast. So the water on the brush helps move it around a bit. I'm using long strokes so I don't get brush marks. Once I have the black paint on here, before it's fully dry, just about 20-30 minutes, when you can start seeing the shininess go away and you're starting to see it more matte, I'm just gonna take my sandpaper and just lightly buff it to pull off some of the black. You don't want to go too hard or it's going to pull off too much. But if you wait, because it's clay paint, if you wait too long, like say overnight, you're gonna have to use a lot of elbow grease to get it to come off. And you can also wet distress, but I feel like it's gonna pull the color off underneath as well. So I'm going with just sandpaper. So underneath, I found this beautiful fresh wood underneath, which is just amazing to me that this wood is still in such great condition after probably 30, 40 years. It was 2 layers of veneer. So when you use a wet rag and an iron, you want to keep in mind that you're not going to take off the top layer, you're going to take off 2 layers because that water is, really going to penetrate down in there. But if you're lucky, you'll find this beautiful wood. I'm using Dark and Decrepit, our liquid patina that works so good as a stain, and it's just the perfect brown. So I'm just using a sponge and I'm going in long strokes. And I'm going to wipe it off a little bit so I can get some of the grain showing through. That's it. I love our top coats because they really just bring out the beauty in the paint. It's like the final step and it's like it's so satisfying. I love it. Going right over the hardware. I'm going to grab this drip mark before it settles because it is hot today. Long strokes. And that's pretty much it, you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and stain this just like I stained the top.